Travel. So many people list it as this undefined thing they would like to accomplish one day. But what does travel really mean to you? For some people, travel is about destinations, places they've liked to visit. For others, it's about maybe things they've always wanted to do, like go to Disneyland or go skiing or sailing. For some, it's just about being somewhere else, somewhere new and unfamiliar. During my time at Schoolypalooza and RTR, I actually came up with 5 types of travel styles. And so that it wasn't just me talking to the camera, I took some time to sit down with my friends Bunny and Riley to talk about the types I came up with and to see which categories they fall into. As you listen, you might want to think about which category you fall into. What is up, YouTube? So I'm sitting here with 2 of my friends. We got Bunny from Bunny Plays here and Riley from Riley Does Life. And we are hanging out, at a campsite, just hanging out, being buddies. And I think we have varying travel styles. I think like you 2 have a travel style that's a little bit probably closer than like my travel style. But even still, there's variances there. So what I've come up with is 5 different nomad types, and I've written them down on my phone, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what each of these nomad types and travel styles is, because there are people who aren't nomads but still love to travel, and they do sort of the part-time thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and basically after I describe the type of nomad, I want you to say, I'm a lot like that, I'm a little like that, or I'm not like that at all. So that's basically the game that we're playing right now. Alright, so different types of nomads. The first one is the pioneer. And I define this nomad as a person more likely to go down a random road just to see what's there. For that reason, the type of people we tend to call overlanders, I consider them falling in this category, but they're not the exclusive people in that category. They are more likely to add new camping places to a camping map than just go to places already visited. These travelers tend to favor sort of more rugged and 4x4 vehicles and vehicles that can get the most places. Some travelers in this travel category may even be more likely to favor like a Jeep and a rooftop tent than like a big standing height vehicle, or they just like anything that gives them the flexibility they want. Pioneers also tend to favor traveling light and at the highest MPG they can find. So how much do you feel like you fall in the pioneer category?
I think that I fit a few of those. I am clearly not in an overlanding kind of vehicle, but I am one to walk ahead to see if I can make it to a path. And I like to find places that others might not, because then they're quiet. Yeah, so maybe a little.
Yeah.
I'm a little like that. So I have the 4x4 for the all-wheel drive, so yay. But because I'm super new, like I'm only 6 months in to van life, it's more like I'm just playing it cautious. So I hang out with friends like Bunny who do all the exploration part, and I just follow along for for the secret locations.
All right, so I would say this type, the second type, is the complete opposite of that, and I call them the settler. So like you have the pioneer and you have the settler, and the settler likes the idea of settling down for a while. The free boondocking, I can't say words, the free boondocking type of settler might be doing it just for financial reasons or to save the most of the amount of money. The RV park type settler might have needs more met by an RV park experience as opposed to parking out in the wilderness. These travelers are more likely to use their max stay time in any one spot. They will usually stick pretty close to their campsite and activities available near their campsite. Larger vehicles usually fit better in this type of travel style as they move infrequently and may stay docked more of the month than they are in motion. Hence, MPG and size and huge flexibility in where the vehicle can go may not be as much of an issue. So how much do you feel like you fit in this world?
0.
Whereas I feel like this is very much like, I feel like I'm not really as much of a pioneer. Like I will go places with other people if they're like, hey, this place is cool, I'm like, cool, I'll follow you. But I do tend to go like places that are recommended by other people.
Well,
as
you have the
opposed-
bigger vehicle.
Yeah, and like I am cool with just settling down and like sitting in one spot for like 2 weeks.
I have to have people to motivate me.
That's true. Like the only time I ever see you sit still is when
Yeah,
we're at a
there's
van life event. yeah.
All right, and so the third one, I think this one will hit Buddy pretty hard, is the Sightseer. They are very into seeing special things in an area. It might be themed sightseeing, specifically like seeing stadiums, restaurants, local breweries, or random, like whatever is in the area and it's cool to see, they're interested in it, as opposed to I'm specifically here to find museums or whatever. Sightseers tend to favor smaller vehicles and go minimalist on their camping setup. They like the idea of being able to move at a moment's notice to the next adventure. So that is the Sightseer.
100.
If she's 100, I'm like 75%. Because I do travel with the dog, so it kind of limits me on where I can go. But, you know, I find ways. So you won't see me at museums, but I'll find a way to go to a dog-friendly brewery. Yeah.
And like it's like something I'll do if I see it. I don't tend to seek it out. So if I'm driving and I'm like, oh, what is there? Oh, who is there? Like I will go.
Yeah.
But I don't tend to seek it out as much. Whereas I feel like that's your thing. Like that is your jam right there.
That's my jam.
Yeah.
And the difference I see between like the Sightseer and the Pioneer is like the Pioneer is just like I want to get someplace nobody else can get. Not always like you know, specifically I want to see sightseeing. So I do consider them two kind of different modes.
Yeah, they are.
And you can mix and match a lot of these, which is really, really fun. Like I'm interested in sightseeing and I hope I get to do more next year. So my fourth one is the Activity Master. And the Activity Master may like to bike, sail, fish, canoe, mountain climb, parasail, whatever, but they have an activity they really, really like. And so their whole journey is like, I want to find good fishing, I want to find good biking, I want to find good hiking. And so yeah, activity seeker.
Does food count as an activity? Because if that is, I'm on board with that one. If not, I like those things, but I can't say that I'm going to just modify my travels.
Yeah.
I would feel like I want to be. I love hikes, so I look for a lot of like hiking trails everywhere. I go hiking, or when I'm on the road by myself with my dog, I always try to go at least, you know, every other day to find a new hiking trail. And somebody's gonna teach me how to ski. Somebody's gonna, you know, go rock climbing with me, and so I'm really excited to do all the outdoorsy kind of stuff.
I mean, like, I think there's stuff I like to do, but I don't think, like, I would like, people who are in the mountain climbing, like, they travel to mountain climb.
I would do that.
Yeah, and, like, I knew a guy, he got really into running, and he went all the way to Hawaii to run, and I'm like, if I went to Hawaii, I'm not running up a mountain like that.
I'm going to view and
I would get a hotel in Hawaii, and I'll settle down and hang out.
I like kayaking. I love fishing. Like, you know, one of these days when I figure out what I'm doing.
So it seems like we got a little bit of an activity master right here.
Yeah. An aspiring activity master.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh, so the fifth one probably doesn't apply to neither one of you and applies to me a lot. And that is what I call them, the urban floater. So we have the impression of like every nomad being a person who's like out in the wilderness and wants to be, and honestly that's not true. There's people who like, I don't leave the city, I live in a vehicle, I don't leave the city. And there may be multiple reasons. I said they might have a local job, seasonal or permanent, or just prefer the city overall. Much like the settler boondocker, they may only be doing it for financial reasons, but also may want to voluntarily escape the whole rent and mortgage trap. By sticking to one city, they are still mostly saving money. You are more likely to find people invested in some temporary financial goal among urban floaters. They usually float between night spots and day spots. The majority of their experience is stealth camping, either needing or wanting access to city resources. Urban floaters tend to prefer vehicles that blend in on city streets. They tend not to tow or carry a lot outside their vehicle for another number of reasons, and they tend to rate stealth pretty high for obvious reasons. So yeah, I think I've fallen into this category out of just default because like I started my journey, in a financially compromised situation, living in the city, having a job. I do think this is different from like homelessness. I want to make that clear. Like homelessness is like this desperation situation where they hate that they're living in a vehicle, and there was a point where it became a choice, and I was like, oh, I see I can take financial advantage of this, as opposed to, oh, I'm miserable on the corner of a street or something like that. And I think sometimes people who prefer urban environments are diminished by other types of travelers and nomads, and I don't think that's fair. But I would say
I think it would have advantages.
Yeah.
I mean, it really would, because I could see how being in an urban setting sometimes would definitely benefit my sightseeing. But for me, even though I have a super stealthy vehicle and I blend in everywhere, for some reason urban has always been scary.
Really?
Just because I'm like, I don't know the town well enough to know, like a lot of people who do urban are sticking to an area where they're very familiar.
Yeah.
And for me, coming into a city for the first time, I am not familiar with the area enough to be like, yes, this is the street that I am going to camp on tonight, because I know it's safe for me to do that.
That's fair, yeah.
You have to kind of know your neighborhoods a little bit better to know that you're comfortable in that area, because you could go into a beautiful location and have a massive crime rate.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
just not knowing. So I think that that's one of the things that's always kept me from urban. But I think that it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and I do think like that's a big thing, is you have to learn how to read an area very quickly when you're in an urban area, and some people do a huge mix of both. Like I would say I'm a mix of the settler and the urban floater, and sometimes honestly I just want to be in the city because the resources are easier, and like I do tend to do it in familiar areas, but when I go to unfamiliar areas, I've just done it so long, there's certain like signs I look for that, oh, they're probably going to ignore me if I park here, they're probably going to ignore me if I park here. And it's two very different types of skills. I will say the first time I actually camped, it was actually scarier because it was too quiet. I was used to the city. I was like, why is there no noise? Like people walking down the street.
I'm from Chicago, so yeah. I think because I came from a big city like Chicago, I just prefer to be outside. But it also depends on the city too, I think. Like, I went to Nashville recently and I freaking loved it. So I feel like I could do the urban thing there.
And I think it's good to have a mix of styles from different of these.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of us also face the question of, why'd you choose vehicle A, or why'd you choose vehicle B, or what vehicle would be the best thing to choose, or if you could have your dream vehicle, assuming you don't have it, what else would you get? And like these travel styles, depending on what your majority or minority, will affect sort of what vehicle you pick. So this is another reason there's no such thing as a perfect rig, because like as somebody who's going to be urban a lot, towing does not make sense.
No.
Like it doesn't matter if your vehicle can tow, towing does not make sense. And somebody in the comments is going to be like, I live in the city and I tow. But it's not, it just doesn't make sense for parking, for maneuverability, whereas if you are a person who does settle down in campsites for a long time, having a larger vehicle and maybe a smaller, like what do you call them, the tow behinds, makes sense.
Look at the ones that are out here. We have several, and they're definitely long-termers.
Yeah.
They're living in their larger RVs, and it makes sense. They are here for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't necessarily have an auxiliary car. So I think that that's really cool.
Yeah.
On the same note, though, I can stay here, which is cool, as a small vehicle.
Yeah.
And come and go. There's no one thing.
Yeah. And it's like you want to move a lot. Some people may dock and they just hike, what they can physically get to. I saw a kid riding a bike, so again, those activities that they have access to, and they're like, we're cool, we're here, we're just going to use the activities that we can physically access very quickly. Or if you have a smaller vehicle, you can just like, all right, I'm actually driving out and then I'm going to drive back and I'm going to have a place to sleep tonight. And we are very close to Las Vegas, which I've learned has more than gambling.
Yes, there's so much. Yes.
So I'm gonna wrap this up with your vehicle. Does it fit your travel style perfectly? Are there things you would change? Like, how do you feel about your vehicle matching your travel style?
I mean, overall, my vehicle does very well. It is very fuel efficient. I drive all the time. I am on the go, as per my styles. And because of that, my smaller vehicle does work. there are always going to be things that I am constantly tweaking and changing.
Right.
Again, no perfect vehicle.
Yeah.
However, I can do that because I've allowed myself the knowledge of this is what I want for the position of what I'm going to be doing. And I think that that's why I needed the small vehicle.
I'm in an SUV, and because I was so new, and when I started this, it was suggested to me to do like car camping before I fully commit to van life, and it didn't expect that I would fall in love with it immediately. So there are pros and cons. Like, I have all-wheel drive and I can go anywhere, so that's a pro. But and it's pretty stealth too. But man, I would kill for some headspace. That's pretty much it. I think I would do like a micro camper as well, like just a little one, just so I can sit up anywhere besides my front seat.
I completely understand that. I started in a car, and that's why I got the minivan, because I was like, I can put a bed in a minivan. But I think like I was always on the journey to get to a larger vehicle. I had to figure out also what I wanted out of my travel side of my life. And the box truck has been the right thing for me. It has terrible MPG. It has mediocre flexibility. Like, if I need to go to the grocery store, I can fit, but I'm certainly not parking the way I did when I had a minivan. But it kind of fits the niche I need. I wanted something standable. I wanted something closer to a tiny house, but still be able to drive in the city and fit in the city. And even though this is borderline, it's the size of a U-Haul truck. Those are in the city traveling all the time. So do I wish I had better MPG? Yes. Am I willing to take the trade-off for like how I personally travel and live? Yes. And so that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yay! All right. Thank you guys. Wonderful discussion. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit of chatter about our different travel styles and about which travel styles we think fit us best. By the way, Riley and Bunny have a podcast, The Random Recap, on Spotify, which you should check out. In a very memorable moment in the podcast, Riley talks about how she wasn't even an outdoor person, and she discovered this outdoor person in her journey into van life. You are not going to know who you truly are as a traveler, not honestly, until you do some traveling. So my biggest advice is to do it at the cheapest possible buy-in you can make before you invest a huge amount in the most pimped out vehicle you can get that you think is right for you. I would personally say my travel style actually changed. In the beginning, a small vehicle that could up and move quickly was a huge priority. As I've been doing this a little longer, I now value a long stretch of not moving and really taking time to soak in a new place or live in a new city like a local for a while. I remember when I had my Chevy van, I spent a few days in Denver just doing normal things, walking around, going to local parks, shopping at local places, just standard stuff. And it was still kind of cool. I discovered the beauty of just being for a while in someplace new without any particular goals or things I had to see. In general, as you look into this lifestyle, be honest in your travel goals, whatever they are. Among other things, it will lead you to the right vehicle choice to start your nomadic life with. There is no perfect rig, only the rig perfect for you. And to know what you need to get out there and discover what you thought was your travel style actually is or actually isn't. And with that being said, based on this video or your experience actually traveling, what is your travel style? Or what do you think it is? And what vehicle are you thinking about purchasing to serve that travel style? That's all I got. I'll see you in the next video. So, Mickey, I'm starting to think you just wait for me to get out of bed so that you can take over the bed. And you just wait for it. Do you? Huh, buddy? Do you just wait for me to get out of bed so you can take over the bed? I love you too, bud. No, don't eat my hand. Don't eat my hand. Yeah, don't eat my hand. I love you, buddy. as always, at the end of the video here, I'm going to drop that reminder that I am a victim of the YouTube algorithm. I mean, basically everybody on YouTube has to give, gifts to the algorithm of YouTube, or actually convince you guys to give gifts to the algorithm of YouTube. Luckily, all the algorithm wants is likes, subscribes, comments, just any interaction with the video. And if you could sit through a couple of commercials once in a while, that would also be great. As always, I'd like to extend special thanks to my supporters on Patreon and YouTube memberships. You guys rock, and I hope this video gave everybody something to think about, and I'll see you next time.